So DJ Phone, hold the phone, Happy New Year.
And to you and to your viewers, thank you. You know, now that this is 2018, it's 50 years since 1968, which for a lot of baby boomers was a real cultural milestone in a lot of ways, in terms of news, pop culture, stuff like this. And your sister station, MeTV, carries an awful lot of really, really great TV series that we grew up with. I mean, going back to the 50s, 60s, 70s, even the early 80s.
Very nostalgic stuff.
Oh, it's tremendous. Yeah. In fact, MeTV stands for Memorable Entertainment TV. But there's not a magazine that really encapsulates the baby boomer experience until now. It's called Remind Magazine, because you think back to 1968, that was the year of the student protests. It was the year of the Vietnam War and Richard Nixon. It was the year a lot of TV series for the first time started airing in color. There were, you know, the assassinations of Martin Luther King, Bobby Kennedy, stuff like this. So it really was a watershed year in so many ways. And this magazine, in the January issue, the brand new issue, this magazine highlights 1968. And if you're a boomer like me, you can't believe it was 50 years ago. I mean, it also talks about the British invasion when music completely changed, because the Beatles, of course, arrived in '64. And over the next 5 years, all these other British bands came in and completely rocked America. And that was, again, a big, you know, cultural, almost a time capsule for baby boomers.
Do you think the 60s and 70s, in terms of TV, there were so many good things? Is it matched? Is it just really different now?
Well, keep in mind, too, the baby boomer generation, which roughly encapsulates late 1945 when World War II ended through about 1964. They were the first generation raised on television. And back then, there were only 3 networks and maybe 1 or 2 local independent TV stations. So every TV series always got at least 13 weeks to find its audience. So the next day at school, that's what all the kids talked about, was what they saw on TV the night before, because TV was such a strong cultural influence.
Well, and movies were a big part of that, of course. You know, TV movies and
that was a time when the directors had a lot more sway than they do now, because nowadays the studio marketing people determine largely what movies get made. Back then, you can go ahead and take a chance and aim, and an awful lot of TV shows and movies, because the baby boomers back in the 60s were all very young, they aimed an awful lot of stuff at them. In fact, this wonderful magazine, Remind, not only talks about movies, TV shows, news stories, books, things like this, but it also, every month, as you can see on the screen, every month they also highlight for a particular year in the life of a baby boomer what the top 5 selling toys were. And with Christmas, just a week ago, we can all remember what toys were the hottest things when we were a certain age.
Yeah. Well, you just had to have.
You had to have.
I mean, I even remember jingles from advertising on toys, you know.
Oh, sure, sure. And in fact, just last night, we watched a Twilight Zone marathon over the weekend, where they had one episode with Telly Savalas and this talking doll. Remember Chatty Cathy?
Oh,
well, this was like a Chatty Cathy doll that Telly Savalas, as an abusive father, would hear the doll say, "My name is Talking Tina, and I'm going to kill you." Twilight Zone, right? And of course, we believe that as kids, but
totally scary. The Twilight Zones are, if you ever see them again, they're still as scary as they were when you were
because
kids,
they deal
you know?
with the human condition, yeah.
I know. Well, and the kids nowadays love scary, scary stuff. But I guess, you know, the baby boomers had scary stuff too.
Oh yeah,
you know?
Yeah. And the great thing about this magazine is there's a different theme each month that'll be relevant to baby boomers. For instance, they always have stats from each chosen year showing the cost of living, what a postage stamp cost back then, a gallon of gas, what a house sold for, and also they have different themes each month. Like in this issue here, they have Hollywood Exposed, the biggest scandals of Hollywood in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, the best soap operas, the best moments from the soaps, femme fatales and hardball
Oh my
tough
goodness,
guys.
Casablanca, the big anniversary a few weeks ago.
That's right, 75 years. And from the film noir era, glamour through the 50s, 60s, and 70s. That's Ava Gardner. Classic Bombshells, which was every baby boomer boy's, you know, crush of his youth. And then, of course, you know, with Star Wars being out, you got the Star Trek people. And they also had a special issue with TV's Top Moms that had Florence Henderson on the cover. number and talked about people like June Cleaver, you know, Barbara Billingsley from Leave It to Beaver. My favorite, June Lockhart, who was Timmy's mom on Lassie back in the late 50s. We all had a crush on her, people like this. So it's
I had a crush on Lassie, are you kidding?
Yeah, well, I don't blame you for that. So we all did. We all loved Lassie.
Well, in game shows, we're really big. I know, and one of them was The Price is Right. My sister, you know, had this on her bucket list.
Sure.
And so we actually went to Hollywood. She got on The Price is Right.
Neat.
You know, it was phenomenally scary, but and wonderful. I mean, I was going, please don't call on me, and she's going,
Sure.
call on me, call on me.
And The
she
Price
did
is
get
Right
on,
Live is coming to Yavapai College in just a couple of weeks, and we have a special issue of Remind Magazine with those great game shows. Let's Make a Deal, Video Village, Price is Right, and I can remember when Bob Barker was the host of Truth or Consequences. That's how far back that goes.
Yeah.
But there's also a really, really cool segment in the current issue of Remind Magazine, which highlights your sister TV station, MeTV. It's pretty amazing because all those wonderful nostalgic TV series you guys air on MeTV, the current issue of Remind Magazine, they have a brand new segment that starts this month. It's going to be a monthly segment which highlights retro TV series and shows the listings. Now they're in Eastern time, but it shows the listings every day for the entire month of all these great retro series.
Yeah, you got like a double spread.
Yeah, it's a double spread. This is a new monthly feature.
Wow, look at that. Free advertising for us.
Well, not only that, but in this issue, in the January issue, they mention MeTV, and they say that a lot of the networks airing classic TV series like MeTV, you can get them over the air. You don't need your cable or satellite provider to carry it. It tells you how to get it because newer TVs, they say, have built-in digital tuners that allow you to plug in an over-the-air TV antenna so you can watch it for free. And it says you connect the antenna to the ANT in on the back of a digital-ready TV, position the antenna on a wall or a window, and you can get MeTV and all those great nostalgic baby boomer series.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a part of the monthly segment, you know, in Remind Magazine.
Well, and speaking of, you know, nostalgia, the on-the-roof antennas are back. Now they're in HD, but you don't have to get cable. It's like very cool.
You watch a TV free that way,
Anyway, Remind Magazine, never heard of it, absolutely amazing.
You go online to get it, it's less than $2 a month. RemindMagazine.com.
Well, thank you. That's a very good look back.
Yeah,
and,
Baby Boomers
we can
rejoice.
continue in 2018 looking back if we want to.
Indeed.
DJ Phone, thanks so much for joining us.